if you can't have a conversation with me without calling me the B word, if you feel like that's stupid and like I should better call whoever I want to the B word, it's just I'm using it in this manner. Why would you take it that way? Blah, blah. Cool. I'm glad to know that you can't respect or accept the boundary I have set, so that we cannot communicate in a playful way. We cannot communicate in a way that's very casual. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Eboni Harris and I'm a relationship therapist based in Houston, Texas. So today I'll be doing something a little bit different. I'll still be talking about topics related to relationships and life just because I enjoy that. But along with that, I'm going to be throwing on some makeup. I've decided the reason, we'll see if this is true, but I've decided the reason that I struggle with consistency is because I feel like I have so many tasks that need to get done that sometimes sitting down and doing a video feels like I should be spending my time doing other things, especially because I just moved into my apartment. So there's a lot that needs to get done around here. So I've decided I'm just gonna do videos while I am taking care of business. So I have somewhere to go today. So I wanted to put on a quick face. I'm not a makeup person by any means. So please don't come to me looking for makeup advice. I have a very small amount of makeup that I use anytime I go somewhere. So this is just something I needed to get done. I'm not even going to share what I have because it just doesn't make any sense. My makeup is quite basic. Maybe eventually I'll get better at it. But so just FYI, I'll be looking like this direction and down. My mirror is down here. My notes are over here. But I will be I will be on topic. I will be giving information. So hopefully this is still helpful and a little bit more visually interesting. I love YouTube, and I'm just not a person that will watch somebody. Well, if I do, I'm like doing other stuff. But for the most part, I like when people are either doing stuff and talking about a specific topic, or if they have some visual interesting things. And so because I'm not probably going to be doing a lot of editing, just again, I have a full business that I'm running. So I'm trying to like make this as efficient as possible, but I still enjoy the concept of YouTube. I still enjoy talking about topics that I love. So I want to be able to make this work for me and not try to fit into how everyone else is doing it. So, all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with my makeup. But today we are talking about boundaries versus punishment. The reason I wanted to talk about this topic is because this is something that I often see when I'm working with couples. This is something that I often see when I am having conversations with people. We discussed the topic of boundaries, which is now basically a very trendy word. Like people love to say, I'm setting my boundaries. These are my boundaries, which is great, right? I love that people are starting to get a better understanding of what boundaries are. I appreciate that people are able to truly, start to stand their ground on certain things and not waver so much. But what I notice a lot of times is that people often are not really setting boundaries. They're actually punishing the partner, right? So oftentimes I'll see that when somebody says, oh, I'm setting a boundary, this is my boundary and you need to respect my boundary, it's often in response to an undesired behavior that they had, right? And so I think it's important when we're talking about boundaries that everybody understands the difference between a boundary and a punishment, okay? Because when we're talking about boundaries, this is something that is very much about you, where a punishment starts to become about changing the other person's behavior. So I'm gonna start with a basic definition. I created a post for Instagram a few weeks ago and I never posted it, so it'll come up shortly after I do this video. But we're going to start with a very basic definition of both of the topics, both of the words. So it's a better understanding of what is the definition between a boundary and punishment. And then after that, I'll go into like giving some examples. So I'm a person that very much likes to hear and know like, what does this look like in real life? So I'll do that as well. Before I do that, I just want to say real quick, like I said, I do my makeup regularly, but I'm a very basic person when it comes to makeup. And there's certain things that I do when I'm doing my makeup by myself, even though I'm by myself, that I'm like, oh, I maybe shouldn't do that on camera. So it's funny because I feel like I'm doing makeup for the first time, or I'm just doing it very differently than I normally do because I'm aware of like, somebody's going to possibly watch me put my makeup on. So this is my foundation, and typically I just do this and squeeze it across my face and then do my thing. But I'm like, let me put it on my hand like I actually know what I'm doing. Okay, so I just wanted to share that. So there is a difference between boundary and punishment. So a boundary is setting limits to teach someone how you would like to be treated, okay? So a boundary is setting limits to treat someone how you would like to be treated, okay? And a punishment is inflicting pain or hurt as a form of retribution or to change someone's undesired behavior, okay? So a lot of times what we do is we are responding to something we did not like that person has done. And we are saying, I don't want you to do this anymore. So now I'm going to set a boundary. So an example that comes to mind right away is if someone cheats, right? Because I work with couples, so I get to see lots of infidelity, lots of unfaithful partners, lots of people that are out here, they are not being faithful in the committed relationship that they have agreed to. So that is something that I see a lot. When it comes to setting boundaries around the unfaithful partner, what tends to happen is the person that has been cheated on is saying, well, you can no longer talk to any of your female friends. That's just a boundary for me. And the reality is, if that wasn't an issue before, and maybe they did cheat with a female friend, maybe they lied and said this person was a friend that wasn't really a friend, whatever the case may be, if this wasn't something that you had an issue with before, and now because they've cheated, it's become, you need to stop doing this because you need to, one, I'm trying to change your behavior. If you do this, if I tell you not to hang out with female friends, then you won't cheat again. And two, you don't know how to handle yourself, so I'm going to punish you. I know this can hurt you. I know this will cause you harm. And even though you're saying that some of these women may really be your friends, and some of these women you might say, look, I understand I messed up with this, and maybe we can set up criteria around like what it looks like for me to have female friends, because I do have some people that I'm close to. If that's the case, like, can we figure something out? And you're like, no, you don't deserve to have female friends. That feels more like a punishment. And again, this is a very broad example. Obviously, there are times when it may be a boundary to say some people truly don't believe in platonic friendships, which is perfectly fine. Then you shouldn't be dating people that have platonic friendships if you feel like that's something that would be an issue for you. So all that to say that, that is an example of if it is something that is related to you and how you feel, then yes, we can say that is a boundary. But if it is related to you trying to control a behavior, if it's related to you wanting that person to understand how hurt you are or understand how it feels to have someone do something hurtful, if that's the goal, is that you're trying to make sure that they feel the pain or understand how hurt and how upset you were, then that's when it becomes punishment. So why is this important? The biggest thing is when we're talking about boundaries, there is this struggle with a desire to change the person's behavior, right? We want that person to do something different than they did. And so we often use boundaries as manipulation. And again, if it's boundaries, I'm going to be using this to talk. If it's boundaries, then it's not manipulation. If it's boundaries, this is something I'm setting for myself, and you can get on board or not, and that's fine. If you can't get on board, then I have to make decisions for myself. But another way that that it's really manipulation or punishment is if they say, no, I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable with that. I feel like that's not a fair response, and I'm just not going to do it. And then you decide, I'm just going to keep fighting you and telling you it's my boundary, versus giving the consequences of the boundary, versus saying, okay, I can't do this anymore, or that means I can't talk to you in this capacity anymore, or whatever the case may be. That's how you know it was really about manipulation and not something that you truly wanted to do. So when you are deciding, because this is for you as an individual to decide if you are setting a boundary, if you are setting or giving them a punishment, right? Because of course someone can say, I feel like you're punishing me, and we can justify it all day. But I am really big on, we need to have self-awareness. We need to know our intention behind the behaviors that we're doing. And so the question then becomes, what is the intention behind what you're doing? What are you wanting to get from this? Are you setting this boundary because you feel as though, you know what, I realize that this is something that bothers me. I realize that this is something that I have been bending on that does not feel good for me. It doesn't align with who I am, and I just want a different outcome for myself. I can't fix what you're doing, but I know that this isn't okay with me, so this now has become my boundary, right? Which can happen sometimes. You do develop boundaries over time. But If you decide that and that person says, you know what, I hear you, but that's not for me, I don't think I can respect that, I feel like there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing, and so I'm going to continue to do that, then hey, then you have to make the decision of like, okay, cool. Because everybody has a right to live life the way they want to and to respond and to react however they want to. So if they say your boundary isn't something that I feel like I can respect, or I don't feel the same way about it, then that limits the way that you interact with that person. I have a lot of examples. So I'm going to give another example. So personally, this is a little bit of disclosure, a little information that probably isn't necessary. I am not a fan of the B word. I rarely use it. Like, probably my friends and my family's never heard me use it, but my friends probably can count on one hand how many times they've heard me actually say the word. I say B word. I sound like a 12-year-old. It is what it is. So I don't like it. But specifically, I don't like if anyone uses it for me. And I understand as women, specifically Black women, right? Sometimes we just use that casually and it's like beep, beep, all of that. For me, it's just not a camaraderie thing. It's not a sisterhood thing. I don't like it. I feel like it's disrespectful, but that's my feelings on it. Most of the people in my life know this. They understand that Eboni does not like the B word. So while I might call everybody else the B word and I might say it jokingly and all that kind of stuff, they understand that I don't like it. And not in a way of like I've even had to like go off or anything like that. I've just been able to fortunately tell people and let people know, hey, that's just not my thing. It's cool. You could say it around me. It's not like I'm like, don't ever use the word, because I cannot control what you say, but I can control how you treat me, right? And when I say control how you treat me, I decide if you cannot respect the fact that my boundary is just don't call me the word. I'm not stopping you from using the word. I don't care if it's in your vocabulary. That is on you. If you can't have a conversation with me without calling me the B word, if you feel like that's stupid and like I should better call whoever I want to the B word, it's just I'm using it in this manner. Why would you take it that way? Blah, blah. Cool. I'm glad to know that you can't respect or accept the boundary I have set, so that we cannot communicate in a playful way. We cannot communicate in a way that's very casual. When I speak to you, it'll be very on a certain level. It'll be probably more on surface, platonic. Oh, we're just around each other. But it's not going to be a conversation where, you know, we're playing and because if you can't respect that, then it's going to be an issue. Along with that, if it becomes now a purposeful thing, right? Like if we're just around each other, then I no longer will be around you, right? If we are around each other and we keeping it surface, and that's what I was trying to do to make sure you didn't call me that, but you still struggle to say that, then I can no longer be around you. But that's my boundary. I don't care if you change your behavior or not toward anybody else in the world. I don't care if you use that word every other word in a sentence. But what I'm saying is this is how I would like to be treated. Now, a punishment would be every time somebody call me the B word, I'm trying to fight. Every time somebody call me the B word, I'm going off and cursing them out, right? Because what I'm trying to do is I want you to feel hurt. I want you to feel pain. I want you to feel uncomfortable, or whatever the case may be, because I feel like you don't respect me. So let me make you respect me. I can't make anybody respect me. And so that becomes manipulation. That becomes a punishment. And so that means that I am trying to dictate or change your behavior by causing some type of harm, by doing something negative towards you. So I hope that's helpful. I have a lot of other examples, but I think it's important that we start to kind of identify, like, what is our intention behind our behavior? Why am I getting so caught up on changing this person's behavior? Why am I getting so caught up on you need to be a different person so that I can feel comfortable? Because that's really what it is. We want people to change so we don't have to make the decision to walk away, or we don't have to make difficult decisions to change the nature of their relationship. And I understand it and I get it's hard, but you can't force people. You can't punish people into doing what you want them to do. You cannot manipulate them into doing what you want them to do. And you definitely don't. Boundaries do not make people do what you want them to do. Boundaries let people know what you're willing to accept and what you're not willing to accept. And if somebody does something that you're not willing to accept, don't accept it. You need to move around. Okay, so I'm realizing I am not good at this. So I'm going to finish my face and then I'll come back with some final thoughts. Okay, so final thoughts on boundaries versus punishment. The biggest thing is that you need to know what is your intention behind the behavior, but what is your intention behind saying this is now a boundary, and really understanding if you are doing this purely for yourself, right? Boundaries are about you and no one else. And we struggle with that a lot because we often think boundaries are supposed to stop people from doing things. No, boundaries teach people how to treat you, which means they might cross your boundaries. They may, as they're learning you, do things that are not okay for you, and that's fine. But then when you reinforce, when you let them know, hey, I didn't like this is how it makes me feel, I prefer if we not, da da da. If they still do it, then if it's a true boundary, then you have to make decisions around how you are willing to deal with this person that cannot respect that boundary. Whereas punishment is, I am going to do this because I feel hurt and I need you to feel hurt, or I need you to understand that, you know, I'm upset, and so this is my way of making sure you know, or I need you to change your behavior. I need you to change. I need you to be different, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep trying to punish you until you actually change your behavior. And what we do know about punishment is that it doesn't work long term. So it is not your job to punish any other adult, which I know is something that people struggle with, but it is not. You are not here to punish, to force, to make people change. Even me as a therapist, that is not my job to force someone to change. If they are not ready for change, then we do not do therapy, right? If they are not ready to change, then maybe we're doing a lot of psychoeducation. So you want to make sure you're showing up for yourself and not solely doing a behavior because you are trying to force someone else to change. All right, thank you so much for watching. This is my final look. Again, this isn't something I do professionally, and as I do these videos, it'll be more of you just kind of seeing me go through my day. I'm a regular chick, and so you'll see some regular things happening as I talk about these different topics. So let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this, if this felt more engaging than just watching me talk at a camera, even though I think I did that for most of the video. Also, I'm very curious, how aware are you when it comes to punishment or boundaries? Like, how do you know if you are really setting a boundary versus how do you know if you're just trying to punish someone to get a behavior change? And again, I love to create safe spaces. Obviously, YouTube is YouTube, so I can't control the comments that much, but I would love to hear your thoughts, and hopefully everyone can be respectful in the comments. If not, then I can go in and delete as needed. So I'll see you guys next time. That's all.